But I've got maybe some I shared some thoughts last night as we were logging off and whatnot, and maybe like maybe my final thoughts as I slept on it, as I like to do. I always wake up more refreshed. Well, as one should. You wake up more refreshed with a better perspective on things on top of that as well. And I'm legitimately wondering, thinking, you know, how anyone can really look at last night's Raw and say this was so good, right? Because like I feel like even from a pure entertainment setup, purview if you prefer, from a pure entertainment purview, I don't see how anyone got entertained by this, because the show was sluggish. In pace, it was disastrous. I think the commercials came. I'm not sitting here, putting my fists on my hips and going, I don't want commercials on. It doesn't really bother me, whether I get commercials or not. Like, I know a lot of people get really upset. I don't know. I think the spot that I get annoyed the most in getting commercials, and it's when I'm watching movies, because movies are not designed to, get commercial interruptions, and that's fucking annoying. That's the only place where I really get like super annoyed. But I don't know. I was expecting the commercials. We get the commercials, but I feel that we're placed at really weird spots at really strange intervals. And the pacing was strange, and right from the start, the reveal thing, it was what it was. But then, Dwayne coming to the ring, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson coming to the ring, and to do basically, a protocol session, like you've seen these before, either on television, where you have a bunch of dignitaries in a room, you have the MC come up and it's like, welcome to the evening, everyone. We're so nice to see everyone. We're privileged to have you here. We'd just like to say hello to our Mr. Mayor, who's joining us here tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Also, the ambassador to Britain is here. Very nice to, one of those where you go through the dignitaries. This was what it was. I'd like to thank this guy. Like that, he goes around and he, high fives his TKO buddies Shapiro and Ari Emanuel, right? And then, and he's smiling. He's in a good mood. He's not playing a character. He's just being a guy. And everyone is waiting for Dwayne to do something, because he's invested in these storylines. He's a part of these storylines. So you're waiting for something to happen, and unfortunately nothing really happens. And I kind of think he blew off all of his storylines last night. Like he dotted the I's and crossed the T's, to the point that I'm saying he's not doing Mania this year. He's not sustaining his feud with Cody Rhodes, because he's flat out said, I want to give a shout out to Cody Rhodes, the guy who's been carrying the company on his back, saying all these nice things before he told Cody he had fucked his mother. But essentially, telling Cody all of these nice things, where he should be involved in a feud with him, but we'll never get that payoff at this point. And then coming down to stand nose to nose with Roman, who is someone else that in kayfabe he has, tension with, that there should have been some kind of payoff, and instead puts the necklace gimmick around his neck that Roman run after that overbooked mess that was the opening match. So it's all very curious to me. It's all very curious to me as to why Rock is doing this, if not to indicate that, well, I'm not doing Mania. You can, go on your rafts and do whatever storylines you want. I will not be around this year. I mean, that's pretty much the extent of the thought there. It's like it's strange, and that they're not going forward with it. But I think it probably simplifies Paul Levesque's job tremendously, where he doesn't have to factor The Rock in and just continue with whatever stories he's been building with the guys moving forward. Which is why, especially after last night, I think we're getting Roman Reigns and CM Punk on night 1, and we're getting John Cena and Cody Rhodes on night 2. And yes, I think John Cena is going to win the title to do his 17th championship or whatever. I really think that's what's going on. I think that's the plan. But that was kind of a womp womp. You know, I don't know. It was very uninspired. It wasn't exciting. You know, I think the WWE fans got excited to see The Rock because we're like, oh, we're gonna get some continuation here. We're gonna keep moving forward. And there's a lot of you know, people still clinging on to that hope. I saw a couple of tweets. A couple of tweets were shared with me of people saying, you know what, this first episode was not designed for us wrestling fans. It was designed for the casual viewer, right? To grab the casuals because they don't want to boo Dwayne Johnson, you know. And I cannot get behind that logic. And I think, you know, as the kids say, that's absolute cope. It's copium. You are huffing the copium. Joking aside, though, little memes aside, I do believe that there's, you know, there's a part of those statements that is really, you know, an inner necessity to stick up for your favorite brand and say, well, oh, you know, this was bad, but it was bad on purpose, because that's essentially what you're saying. You know, oh no, hey, hang on, fans. You know, this show wasn't really good, but it was bad by design. Look, they had the TKO guys out there, they had the Netflix executives out there. You know, but this, you know, but this was they decided that this was a bad show. This was going to be a bad show, and it's by design. It's not a mistake. It can't be Paul Levesque failing in his job creatively. No, absolutely not. This show that we saw last night was poorly put together, but it's a game of 4D chess, because Paul wants to bring in the casual viewers with this bad show. And I don't know what casual viewer would want to watch a show that was designed to be bad, because the casual viewer will look at this and go like, this is bad, and they will move on first and foremost, right? Why would you make your show, which in your mind is typically good, why would you make it worse to attract people who don't watch it? That kind of logic makes absolute zero sense to me. And I have seen the tweets and the posts on Blue Sky as well. I have seen them. And I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't think that for the amount of money that WWE is being paid here, the expensive nature of 3 hours of programming on a streaming service, because it costs a lot of money, trust me. I don't think anyone is out there saying, it's fine, we'll put on a bad show. That's cope. It's cope. That's all there is to it. It's trying to deal with a reality that goes against your own personal set of beliefs, and you're like trying to convince yourself that there's a good reason for this. But there was no reason for this show to be bad. That's no reason for this show to be bad. And here's the other thing. Doing it for the casuals, right? This is the tale that we always hear about. First of all, WWE has already got their casual viewers. It's the WWE fans. You think these are hardcore fans? You think these are hardcore wrestling fans who are watching WWE? WWE has successfully created a new set of WWE fans. They have done it via the magic of, I would argue, social media, TikTok, harnessing those. They have turned those online experiences into new fans. I sincerely believe that. But these are not wrestling fans. These are WWE fans. These are not hardcore wrestling fans. If people are still somehow believing that WWE needs to drag in the casuals to counteract the hardcores to get, it's done. They've done it. The casual audience exists in WWE. Like, the hardcore fans, people like myself, like probably most of you listening to this right now, we're already watching other stuff. We're deep into pro wrestling, into pro wrestling history, into other promotions. We watch Japanese, we watch AEW, whatever. We're an audience that to them is acquired, or it doesn't resonate as strong. They wanted this new generation of fans. They got it. So they didn't have to design this new show to appeal to new audiences. That doesn't make any sense. And especially doesn't make any sense to say, well, people who just jump on Netflix and watch this, they'll be, they got to get, stuff that'll ease them in. And I'm like, what people are, why are you talking like people are switching channels like on a cable box? Why are you saying, why are you treating this like the age old adage where it's like, we're just going to flip through channels, click, click, click. Oh, and as I'm flipping through channels, I stop on one. I'm like, wait, that's Dwayne Johnson. Hey, what's he doing here? And then I'll listen, right? When you watch a streaming service, and I talked about this on the watch party, when you're on a streaming service, you make the choice to press play and listen to something, and you're not skipping between other shows. There's not commercials in your show where you're like, I'll go see what's happening on the other thing. No, the mentality of watching a streaming service is different than watching TV, where TV, you're like, flipping is more, is a more natural reflex, whereas a streaming service, there's something you commit to. So if you're sitting down to watch Raw, you're sitting down to watch Raw. You're not just like waiting for Netflix to recommend it to you. Now, if you get it on your homepage, maybe you'll be like, maybe if you are a Laps fan, or maybe you'll be like, oh, Raw tonight. I haven't watched wrestling in a while. I'll give it a shot. Maybe. But if you're like me, and again, like, I don't have the data to back any of the any viewing habits up. But if you're like me, you're not like cracking your knuckles as you sit down on the couch, turning on the TV, pushing the Netflix button on your remote and going, okay, Netflix, tell me what to watch. And then the homepage shows up and you're like, what a selection of things. Like, that's not how I consume Netflix. I'm assuming that my habits are not odd, and that there's a lot of people who do exactly like me, and that you will open up your home, your streaming services. You'll get the homepage, but ultimately you're opening up that particular streaming service because there's something you want to watch, because you want to watch Squid Games, right? So you're like, okay, you sit down on Netflix, you open up Netflix, and then you scroll till you get to Squid Games. Or, you sit down on Amazon Prime to watch The Boys. I don't, what else is on? It's not necessarily something that I don't watch the homepage to tell me what to watch, usually. Now, I will get enticed sometimes to like, oh, this looks interesting, but I'll probably come back to it because I'm sitting down to already watch something else. I'm not sitting down to be like, okay, what you got? Hit me. No, it's more like, I'm sitting down, opening the TV and firing Paramount Plus up to watch SpongeBob SquarePants. What else is there on Paramount Plus? But then I see, Smile 2. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to put a pin on that because right now I want to watch some SpongeBob. Like, we're not getting new fans this way. That's not how this is going to work for Raw's discoverability. So why are we obsessed? We can no longer be obsessed with the casual fan in pro wrestling because the casual fan exists in WWE. That is the makeup of their business because they don't have hardcore wrestling fans as the majority of their business. I'm not saying they don't have any at all. What I'm saying is that they have WWE fans. They don't have hardcore pro wrestling fans. They just don't. So they're going to have their stuff and they already have their people. So why are we designing shows to attract people that we already have? And maybe there's going to come a time where the WWE fans realize that that they themselves are the hardcores. They're the hardcore WWE fans and everyone else is just like, hanging on to this. And that someday these casuals are going to fall off. And that's okay. And that's normal because that's cyclical. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked in pro wrestling. We're in a little boom period for WWE and they're going to benefit from it. But this boom period is eventually going to stomp out. And then we'll see. As for the rest of the show itself, it was not good. It was not a good professional wrestling show. And I would argue that I went in there with as much an open mind as possible to be like, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe there's going to be something here that is going to kick me in the teeth and it's going to be like, well, you know what, Warren, maybe you should be watching more WWE. And I'm like, oh. But no, there was none of that. And the one thing that I realized that has coalesced in my mind, especially after listening to a few people talk about it, in my circles and whatnot, I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. The target audience for WWE is its media partners. It's the people who are putting in the money to get this show. So Netflix, the cities where WWE heads to extract site fees from and whatnot. Saudi Arabia. These are the principal architects of what you're seeing on TV. And you saw it, right? You saw Mark Shapiro and Ari Emanuel who were there. I think there wasn't Nick Khan there. They just didn't show him on screen, but I'm pretty sure he was ringside. You had the Netflix executives who were there, and what are they seeing? They're seeing this huge show in this state-of-the-art facility, right? This is the facility that does the face scans and, that has one urinal for every person in the building, like something like that, so that you can, and without any screens in the concourses, so that so that everyone stays seated and watches the fucking show, essentially, right? And it's one of these, setups where where it's just like, it's all spectacle, it's all sizzle, and there's no stake. And all of the people who have the money that WWE is trying to woo, they don't give a fuck about pro wrestling. They don't care about the history of professional wrestling. They don't care about Terry Gordy or, Gorgeous George or Bruno Sammartino. They don't give a fuck. They don't care about this stuff. They don't know. They wouldn't know an excellent 5-star match from a 2.5 one, or from the Drew McIntyre Jey Uso show match last night. They were probably like, this is fine. Yay. Big guys pretending to hit each other. Like, what matters to them is the show. It's the spectacle. It's seeing the people do the gimmicks, do the yeets like Michael Cole's to the point that he gasses himself on commentary, or the singing along with Seth Rollins and all that stuff. And then, you know, the light setups and the lasers shot above the building, right, to do the little logos and stuff that they can project in the sky off the smog of Los Angeles. You know, all that stuff. They're like, yes, this is what our money's paying. Yes, this is quite the show. But they don't know, they don't give a shit. They don't care about pro wrestling. They don't know about pro wrestling. They don't know jack shit. You think that the guy from the guy from Netflix, you think he's ever watched some Mid-South? You think he's he's knowledgeable in the territories? He's talked about, he talks about that he can strike up a conversation, about Memphis, talking about the empty arena brawl, or when Jerry Lawler got run over by a car. All this stuff. Like, they don't care about that's not what this is about. So consider this for food for thought, and let's see how things develop. But WWE's target audience is not us, the ticket buyers, because we can be easily geeked into buying tickets at exorbitant prices and then allow it to be rubbed in our faces that we are buying tickets at exorbitant prices because we have the top star come out, or one of the top stars come out, to tell us that we broke arena gate records, and we'll applaud it like a bunch of fucking morons. So we're manipulable. We can be manipulated. We can be fashioned into whatever clay shape they want. The ultimate target audience for WWE is the media partners. That's who they do this show for. They don't do it for us. They do it for them. So, keep that in mind. And keep that in mind for AEW too. Sometimes, we're sitting here and me personally, right? Because I do this every week. I review Dynamite every week. And sometimes I'm bonking my head and I don't understand why they're trying to do like WWE. And we were, why we were, on such a good pace to not be like WWE, and suddenly we became like WWE. And then eventually, then it starts turning more and more into sports entertainment, and it's losing the stuff that really made it unique. And suddenly, AEW is getting the big media deals. Now, I'm not saying that there's a one-to-one correlation. I'm not saying this is absolutely it. All I'm saying is, off of these thoughts that are coming, that have been coalescing in my brain, off of watching Netflix recently and all of the moves that they've been doing, I don't think it's implausible to believe that there may be some kind of influence from AEW's own media partners to go, hey, look at how successful these guys are doing their thing. Why can't we do that? And Tony can sit down and bring his DVD, his CDR library of tapes that he digitized himself. He can bring the entire big book, there's a zipper and all the DVDs are like in little sleeves, right? You know what I'm talking about? And he can open those up to David Zaslav and say, here, look, I got, 1988 Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair. Check this out. This is what we're trying to do. And Zaslav's going to be like, what, you want to do matches like in 1988? What the fuck is wrong with you? So again, like, I'm not saying this, I am absolutely not saying or even insinuating that this is exactly the same problem with AEW. What I'm saying is, keep this in mind. Keep this at the forefront. Because the more things get corporate, the more these media deals are sought after. Maybe there are certain concessions that must be made that maybe aren't obvious out of the gate, or that you can absolutely pinpoint on, but kinda might be. But yeah, just to wrap it up, of course, the best moment of the show was Hulk Hogan no selling all the booze, and not booze as in BOOZE. We're talking like boo, and that was tremendous. Poor Jimmy Hart did not deserve to be a part of that. It was the best scene ever to see Hulk Hogan walk away with after tearing his shirt to reveal the Raw Netflix shirt underneath. I think it was tremendous to see him walking away, like turning and walking away with the fucking, with the rags of the shirt like around his heels. It was an incredibly pathetic and pitiful moment. It was just beautiful from start to finish. The next Saturday night's main event that they're preparing, this time they're, as opposed to the one they did in December, right? It wasn't December, right? The one they did in December, as opposed to that, they are setting this one up, the one in January, to have Hulk Hogan on it, right? They're advertising him, they're using him in the opener and all of that, which is curious, right? Because they didn't do it the first time. Now they're doing it. It was actually weirder the first time, like when they did it in December, that they didn't feature Hogan in any way. They didn't show any clips because Hogan was quintessential to the success of Saturday night's main event. And I've talked about it when I did my review of it, like Hulk Hogan was that a Saturday night's main event was the only way back in the day to see Hulk Hogan wrestle for free on television. You either have to do pay-per-view to watch him if you wanted to watch him on TV, or you just had to buy a ticket to go see him wrestle at your local auditorium or your local arena or whatever the fuck. So he was instrumental in making Saturday night's main event a thing, and they completely wiped him from the history of SNME on the last broadcast, the one from December. Jesus Christ, Warren. Now they were clearly setting him up to be a part of that, right? But like, do you bring him back? Like, do you bring him out for the next Saturday night's main event? Or do we just go, oh, it's California, it's a democratic state, liberals, do we just hand wave it? Or do we dare bring Hulk Hogan out for the next Saturday? I wouldn't risk it. Not with the amount of booze he got here. It wasn't the Republican National Convention last night, and it's not going to be it next time when they're going to be at SNME. And here's the thing, TKO, again, think about this. TKO owns both WWE and UFC. And UFC is, it has its own little universe, and the people who populate it and who watch it, they lean a lot more right on the political spectrum. There's, people that they feature as fighters that are questionable human beings, that aren't necessarily upright standing citizens. It's like not, you know exactly what I mean. And UFC goes off without a hitch, right? So I'm pretty sure that level of, let's call it arrogance, sort of bled over to WWE, where it's like, just bring Hogan back, it's fine. And I think this served as a reminder that the audiences between WWE and UFC, despite being owned by the same company, are still very different. These are two very different audiences. So I think it's important. I think it was an important distinction to show that WWE fans maybe aren't ready to just move forward blindly, and they'll still put up a fight regarding certain things. But then again, there's certain things that they don't care about putting up a fight against, such as, executives being named in lawsuits regarding sexual assault and stuff like that, and the years of Vince's allegations right and left being, oh, they're all allegations, poo-poo, who cares, no one really reacting to that. And then the Wall Street Journal, remember this, the Wall Street Journal publishes the allegations 1 week. In that same week, on that very SmackDown, Vince McMahon comes out, right? In the midst of those allegations, in the midst of a report, a detailed report, not from, the Eugene, Oregon potato farmer review. We're talking the Wall Street Journal does the report. That same week, Vince McMahon purposefully starts the show to do Welcome to SmackDown, and everyone is bowing. They're singing along to No Chance in Hell. They don't have a problem with that. They don't have a single solitary issue with that. So it's very pick and choose. So, there's a lot of people patting themselves on the back about this, and while I say it's a good sign, I'm not necessarily inclined to suddenly absolve WWE fans from their selective blindness. And I still believe to this day that if Vince were to show up on a show, and if I were a betting man, I'd put money on the fact that Vince will eventually return to show, even if it's for an induction into the Hall of Fame. If Vince ever showed up again on a TV episode, people would cheer, they'd do the bowing, they'd sing along. He would not even get remotely showered, covered in booze as Hogan did. I can feel it. I can feel it in my guts, all over my guts, all deep within my guts. I can feel it. Guys, gals, non-binary pals, I just know it. So, it was funny as hell because I think Hulk Hogan's a piece of shit. And I am sure he felt emboldened. He felt really confident because now he's on the right-wing grift, right? Where he's like all the others of his ilk. It's like, now it's like, okay, well, now I'm part of the cult, and now that I've been accepted by the cult, they're all gonna eat up my slop, whatever it is. So, he was there at the Republican National Convention and was tearing, his shirt, and what you gotta do, brother? And everyone goes, woo, because you're in MAGA Central, and it's the same thing with the Democratic National Party, don't get me wrong, right? But he's at the RNC, and everyone's going nuts, and he's going, and now he feels good. He's like, Hogan's back, brother, and so he's like, no, we're gonna sign deals for the beer and all this stuff, and I'm gonna come out in Los Angeles, and he's feeling good. He's feeling like he's got his mojo back. Boom, reality check. Everyone still hates you, Hulk, because you suck, because you're a bad person, because you're a legitimately bad person, and your former boss is a bad person as well. A terribly bad person. Don't get me wrong. But, I'm sure he was starting to feel like he was on top of the world. I'm back, baby. Got smacked down pretty quickly. Got a big pie face of booze. Can someone tell me? I've been trying to do some research, but it's not clear. And can anyone tell me, the beer drinkers here, how much is a 12-pack of Coors Light, or Bud Light? How about that? What's a 12-pack? What does a 12-pack of Bud Light cost in the United States? Because I'm seeing all sorts of stuff, and I'm not quite sure how to go about it. I see liquor stores, I see Walmart. Like if you go out and you buy a 12-pack of Bud Light today, how much does it cost? Bud Light 12 cans are $11.49. So here's the other thing. This is what I want to know. Are you enough of a red-blooded American patriot to spend like $8 more, $7.50 more, or $6.50 more to get the same amount of beer with the same amount of lack of taste? You know, like it doesn't make sense. Like even the pricing scheme doesn't make sense to me. Or like he's trying to pass this off as premium beer, right? Without any premiumness about it. It's just like fucking it, you know, it's piss water essentially what it is. Just like any fucking light beer, right? So why are you, what makes it so, like if it was, if it has this special taste to it, if it had like this brewing process that was so unique, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It doesn't make sense. I'm retired military and that will be a hell to da no, sir. There you go. Oh, I believe you. Like that doesn't like, you know, I don't drink beer really anymore. Like when I say really, I mean not at all. So I'm kind of disconnected from all of that. You know, my friends and family around me, my close family, they're more into the craft beer. So maybe that, so I'm like, but the craft beer, you're paying for a specialized brewing process. You're not just like bringing a 12 pack to down at the, you know, at the cookout, you know, you're having a nice craft beer and so on and so forth. Like they're two different experiences, right? It's like drinking like, you know, a high-end latte from a local coffee shop versus, you know, Maxwell House, right? So yeah, you know, look, the point that I'm making ultimately is, sure, Hulk Hogan got booed, that's fine, but you know, we're leaving a lot of people off the hook. We're not, you know, challenging Triple H to ask him, you know, what he knew about Vince. You know, here's a question. The guys from the flagship, they had an interest. They posited an interesting question here that I'm gonna parrot here as well. You know, why? Maybe one of the next questions someone at a press conference should ask Triple H is the following, something to this effect. Triple H, you know, Hulk Hogan, you know, in recent years was had his Hall of Fame status revoked by WWE. He was removed effectively from programming for years. You know, his likeness was not used. Heck, even up to recently with the recent Saturday Night's Main Event return, like last December, Hulk Hogan, despite being instrumental to the show, back in the 80s, was nowhere to be found, either on you know, historical video packages. He didn't show up, nothing. Why is it then that you decided to become a minority stakeholder in his beer company if you've cut off ties like that? I would even go as far as to ask them, why are you coordinating your legal efforts with your former employer Vince McMahon, who you kicked out of the company because of sexual misconduct? Why are you all conducting this business together? So, or not conducting this business, but you know, coordinating your efforts in this lawsuit? It doesn't make sense. And these are the kind of things that we should be challenging these people on. But you know, everyone just wants to be part of the show. Everyone who just goes to these pressers or who have access to Triple H, they just want to be part of the show. That's all they want. Instead of asking them real questions. And they should be able to ask these questions. And in fact, we should be able to ask these questions. And it's normal to ask these questions. You'd ask these questions to, you know, a league commissioner of a professional sports organization, right? Why? Because it's a $1 billion operation. What is pro wrestling now? What is WWE now in 2025? It's $1 billion operation. So yeah, I think they and plus they're a publicly traded company, WWE is. So sure, yes, I would absolutely 100% grill them on these issues. I think it's fair to hold them to a certain level of responsibility. You know, but instead we're asking, you know, it's like, when are you guys coming back to Los Angeles? You know, we're asking Tiffany Stratton, how does it feel, champ, to win the title, champ? It's, you know, it's fucking nonsense. And we're not holding these people accountable, but we'll boo Hulk Hogan because everyone hates Hulk Hogan. But WWE, you know, Triple H, particularly, oh, geez Louise, you got to be careful what you say about Triple H. You're gonna get creamed. You're gonna get splattered all over the internet. But this is the kind of stuff you need to do. These people need to be held accountable for all the shit that's happened and that is still happening and still going on. I think it's okay to be asking questions about lawsuits. Those are my final thoughts about the Raw. We had a few of them as we were going on watching it live together, and I have my fill of Monday Night Raw. Very satisfied of not watching it for a while again.